Hello everyone, welcome to the part 5 of the NCERT as it is review on the first physical chemistry chapter in 11th, which is the basic concepts of chemistry. Now this session, right, I think if you are following the previous sessions, so we have started with part 0. In fact, so part 0 we have talked about a lot of history in terms of how the understanding of science in general and chemistry has evolved across the world and more particularly in Indian context. Then we have session 1, session 2A, 2B, session 3 and session 4. So broadly we have covered whatever the NCERT level stuff, right, that's already covered. In session 5 we are going to be focusing on what are some of these additional things that we can cover. Now the point is I'm saying these are additional. These are additional because we are learning them in +1, and essentially what we are going to be spending our time in part 5 is basically on the additional concentration terms. This is what we will be mostly discussing, but these things will anyway be coming for us at a later point of time. So in +2 we will have a chapter called as solutions. So in the solution chapter, right, we'll talk about the concentration terms. So those things we are going to see them in advance, so that the guys who are preparing for JEE or NEET, they will have these things in handy. So let's start with the other important concentration terms. So we are currently discussing about the concentration term. In our NCERT, right, we have been given 4 concentration terms. We already covered that. In fact, in the part 4, right, we basically talked about all these things. Maybe those who have not covered the part 4, you can just go and take a look at it, because it will be kind of continuation. So this is an important concentration term. So what is it called as normality? So if you look at a lot of these IIT or so JEE mains or advanced, so even NEET past year questions from the basic concepts of chemistry or the solution chapter, right, you might see this normality being mentioned. So I want to start showing you the similarity between the way normality is defined to the way we have defined molarity. Already we have defined molarity. So molarity is something that is already defined. So how did we define molarity? It is defined as number of moles of, so I'll just write the definition of molarity here. What is it? It is the number of moles of solute that is present in 1 liter of the solution. That is how we have defined the molarity. Now normality, right, look at this. It is the number of equivalents of solute present in 1 liter solution. So just like number of moles, right, so here we are talking about something called as what? Number of equivalents. There in case of molarity, what did we say? Number of moles of solute. Here we are saying number of equivalents. So to understand normality, right, we should know how do we calculate this number of equivalents. Again, let us just go to this side, the molarity side. In the molarity definition, what do we have? Number of moles of solute present in 1 liter of the solution. So how do we calculate number of moles? We have a formula, right? How do you calculate number of moles? Given mass by molar mass. That is how we will calculate the number of moles, isn't it? So to calculate the number of equivalents, right, we are going to have an almost similar kind of formula. Number of moles, how do you calculate? Given mass by molar mass. Number of equivalents, right, for any substance you want to calculate number of equivalents, how do you calculate it? It will be calculated as given mass by equivalent mass or equivalent weight. So now if you want to know, look at this, if you want to know normality, we should know how to calculate number of equivalents. if you want to know how to calculate number of equivalents, we should know what is this equivalent weight. If we understand equivalent weight means, that's it. So we'll see how do we calculate the equivalent weight or equivalent mass. But before we go and talk about the equivalent weight or equivalent mass, let us just take a look at these balanced equations. Let us just try to observe them. These are balanced equations or not? They are balanced, right? So in the we can even give them some number. I can call it as what, 1 and 2, like that. In equation 1, look at this. 1 mole of HCl is reacting with what? 1 mole of NaOH. That is coming from the balanced equation. That's okay. Now look at the equation 2. Here, with 1 mole of the magnesium hydroxide, how many moles of HCl is reacting? 2 moles of HCl is reacting. Now if I ask you why, you will say, sir, that will come from the balancing method. So if I ask, why 2 moles of HCl is reacting with 1 mole of magnesium hydroxide, means you will say this factor 2 is coming based on the balancing. But when these substances are reacting, you just look at it. What is this? It is an acid reacting with a base. Simple, right? Both the reactions. What is it? An acid is reacting with a base. Now when they are reacting, right, this reaction is what we will be calling as the neutralization. What do we call this as? Neutralization. Okay. So look at this. We will see how we will try to understand fundamentally why there is a difference in the mole ratio. With NaOH, for 1 mole we will require 1 mole of HCl. With magnesium hydroxide, for 1 mole we will require what? 2 moles of HCl. Why is it? We will try to understand. Look at this. If you take 1 mole of HCl, right, 1 mole of HCl is acid, it dissociates. When it is dissociating, right, each HCl will give us 1 H plus ion. So we will be having 1 mole of H plus ions. Similarly, you have this, look at this, 1 mole of NaOH. It's a base, dissociates. Look at this, you will get what exactly? 1 mole of OH minus ions, hydroxyl ions. Now see, what is neutralization? H plus ions will have to react with the OH minus, right? Look at this. The 1 mole of H plus is going to react with our 1 mole of OH minus. That is how this 1:1 is happening. If you see the case of the HCl and magnesium hydroxide reaction, look at this. If you have 1 mole of magnesium hydroxide we take, look at this. If it is dissociating, means 1 magnesium hydroxide entity will give us what? 2 hydroxyl ions. So you take 1 mole, means it will give us what? 2 moles of hydroxyl ions. OH minus ions can be called as what? We can call them as what? Hydroxyl ions. Now to neutralize, because what is neutralization? It is the reaction between essentially H plus and OH minus, right? Neutralization means what? H plus will combine with 1 OH minus. That will basically give us what? Water. So to neutralize this 2 moles of OH minus, we will be requiring what? 2 moles of H plus. So how we can get 2 moles of H plus? If you take 2 moles of HCl, that will be able to give us what? It can give us 2 moles of H plus. And that is the reason why we are saying what? Look at this. With 1 mole of magnesium hydroxide, right? What are we seeing? 2 moles of HCl is combining. So the idea is, when you look at the chemical reactions or study the chemical reactions, right? In redox reaction, we will further get clarity on this. we can see the chemical reaction from the electrons exchange point. We can see the chemical reactions from what? Electrons exchange point. Meaning what? If you take an acid is giving H plus ion, means just in terms of charge, it is equivalent to what? 1 electron charge. Of course, sign is different, but it is equal to what? 1 electron charge. So, if you take 1 HCl, means when it is dissociating, it is giving us what? 1 electron charge, because it is giving us 1 H plus. If you take 1 mole of HCl, means it will be giving us what? 1 mole of electrons charge in terms of how much charge it will exchange. You look at this NaOH side, it is giving us what? OH minus, right? That also is equivalent to 1 electron charge. If you take 1 mole of NaOH, means it will be giving us what? 1 mole of electrons charge. So that when you look at the chemical reactions from the charge exchange, right? Always, if from this side HCl is exchanging 1 mole of electrons charge, the other side NaOH will be exchanging. So when they combine, right, they will combine in such a way that whatever the electrons that is exchanged by the HCl, right, same number of electrons will be exchanged by NaOH. Let's look at the second equation. There also, whatever the electrons exchanged by HCl, think of it. If one substance is losing electrons, right, other has to gain the same amount. So whatever the electrons exchanged by the HCl, same amount of electrons must be exchanged by what? Magnesium hydroxide. So we are going to discuss about the equivalent mass concept. The equivalent mass concept will be, there are different ways of defining equivalent mass, but here, right, we will go with the definition which is related to the electrons exchange. We will see what that definition is. So equivalent weight of a substance, right, is basically that much amount of substance which can exchange exactly 1 mole of electrons during a chemical reaction. So if the substance is undergoing chemical reaction, how much mass of this will be able to exchange 1 mole of electrons? That is what we will be calling as the equivalent weight. Now the thing is, obviously it will not be very straightforward for us, right? Each and every substance, how many electrons it will exchange, that will not be straightforward for us. So we have some specific method of finding out the equivalent weight. Let's see how we will find out the equivalent weight. So we will find out the equivalent weight from the molecular weight of the substance. How we will see? 1 mole of substance means what? That mass will be what? Molar mass. We can say, what is it? Molar mass or gram molecular weight. 1 mole of substance mass. If you take 1 mole of a substance, that mass we know, that is what? Molar mass. If it is able to produce, let us say, Z moles of electrons, what is this Z? We will have to find it out. If it is able to produce Z moles of electrons, right, means what? I'll just give you one simple example. Think of it. There is a substance whose molar mass is what? 60 grams. This is what? The molar mass of a substance. I'm not naming what is the substance. It can be some substance. 1 mole of the substance, think of it. 1 mole of this substance, right? If it is exchanging, I'm just giving one number, 3 moles of electrons. So here Z will be what? 3. Means 60 grams of mass is giving me what? 3 moles of electrons. So look at this. 60 grams of mass of this is giving me what? 3 moles of electrons. I want to know how much mass will give me exactly 1 mole of electrons, because that is my definition of equivalent weight. So see this how, this is our Z, right? Look at this, they will be in proportion, no? So what is it? X by 60 is equal to what? What is it? 1 by 3. So means, 3, you can see it like what? Z. So what you will get? X will be equal to what? 60 by 3 means what? 60 is basically the molar mass. So molar mass, what is this 3 here? That is a Z. So equivalent weight, right? How do we calculate the equivalent weight? Molar mass divided by Z value. That is how we will be able to calculate what is the equivalent weight. What is equivalent weight? That much amount of substance which can exchange 1 mole of electrons. Now this discussion is going to take some more time. Why? Because our task is not done. We should know what is Z, right? For each and every substance, just by looking at the substance, we may not be able to easily tell how many moles of electrons 1 mole of a substance will exchange. For that, what we have is we have a specific approach. We will divide the substances into acids, bases. We will divide them into categories: salts, atomic form, or the corresponding ionic form. That is one category. Then we look at the miscellaneous category. So to find the Z value, what is our task now? To find the Z value. Because see this, if I get Z means I will know what is the equivalent weight. If I know equivalent weight means we will know what is the number of equivalents, right? Because what is the number of equivalents formula? Just like number of moles formula. Number of moles is given mass of substance by molar mass. Number of equivalents is what? Given mass of substance by equivalent mass. So what we will do is we will just go one by one each of these categories and see how the Z value will be calculated. If you have acids, these are going to be very straightforward. We don't have to think or make our brain work much. Z factor is basically the basicity of the acid. Think of it. If you take HCl, we already talked about it, right? It is able to give us what? One molecule, you can say, is giving us what? 1H plus. Means if you take 1 mole of this HCl, is going to give us exactly what? How much charge it will exchange? A charge which is equal to what? 1 mole of electrons. Basically, whatever the number of H plus ions, what is the basicity? The number of ionizable H plus ions in an acid molecule, right? That is what we call as the basicity. Means how many H plus ions can come out? H2SO4, right? We say it is a dibasic because it can give us what? 2 H plus ions. H3PO3, it's called as phosphorus acid. It will be able to give only 2 H plus ions. Whereas H3PO4, what is it called as? It's called as phosphoric acid. It can give us 3 H plus ions. So phosphorus acid, right, is what? Dibasic. Phosphoric acid will be tribasic. When we go to the study of 15th group elements, that will come in +2 for us. We will know why this is so. Why phosphorus acid is dibasic, whereas the phosphoric acid is what? Tribasic. This answer will be linked to the structure of these molecules. That and all is a little bit beyond our discussion now. But if you just want to get some more clarity, means H3PO4, right, will have a structure like this. Phosphorus, you will call it as a double bond, OH, OH, OH. You see here, each of these hydrogens, right, is bonded to oxygen. Each of them can come out as what? H plus. That is why it will be what? Tribasic. 3 H plus ions can come out. This is what? H3PO4, phosphoric acid. What is this? Phosphoric acid. Whereas other one, right, H3PO3, phosphorus acid. That's what I'm saying, right? These structures we will be learning in the +2 when we go to the nitrogen family. Where does phosphorus come? Phosphorus comes in the nitrogen family, right? What are the elements of the nitrogen family? Nitrogen, phosphorus, then we have arsenic, then we have antimony, and then bismuth. These are the elements of the 15th group. H3PO3, right, will have a different structure. This is what H3PO3. You see here, two of these hydrogens are bonded to oxygen, they can come out as what H plus. But the third hydrogen, right, formula wise if you look at it, both of them are having what? 3 hydrogens. But in H3PO3, maybe this can be a reasoning question also, we will see when we go to the study of the 15th group elements. But the hydrogen of the phosphorus acid, right, it is bonded to phosphorus atom. So it cannot come out as the H plus ion, because for the hydrogen to come out as H plus ion, right, it should be bonded to more electronegative element like oxygen. So you know what you call all these acids as? We call them as oxo acids. Phosphoric acid, phosphorus acid. In fact, H2SO4 also we call it as what? Oxo acid. The last one, right, look at this formula. H2C2O4. You know what is it called as? It is called as oxalic acid. I mean, this way if you write it might not be very clear. So this is actually the oxalic acid, COOH. Both these hydrogens can come out as what? H plus ion. It's a dibasic. What is it called as? Oxalic acid. So how do you find what is this? The Z factor. Z factor can be also called as what? Valency factor. The Z factor, right, can be also called as what? Valency factor. I mean, most of this will be straightforward. See, suddenly they are giving us nitric acid. You look at it, what is it? It's a monobasic acid, means it will give us only 1 H plus. So Z will be equal to what? 1, like that. Okay. So the Z value for the acids is what? Just the basicity of the acids. Now we will get little bit more clarity on this when we go and study about these respective acids, because we will study about the sulfuric acid, not just sulfuric acid, we will have the other acids of sulfur also. We will also study about the oxo acids of phosphorus, we will study about the oxo acids of nitrogen. Okay, so the way you look at it is, when you are preparing for JEE or NEET, it's not like, you know, our study is going to be limited only till this the first year. We'll have to see how we will be able to correlate the things. So whoever is able to correlate the things, right, they will find it easy to solve questions in the competitive examinations. Let's see one question. What is the equivalent weight of the sulfuric acid? So we have to find what is the equivalent weight of sulfuric acid. What is sulfuric acid formula? H2SO4, right? Look at this, it is what? It's a dibasic acid. Clearly we can see Z is equal to what? 2. So how do you find what is the equivalent weight formula? We know sulfuric acid, H2SO4, right? From the formula, what is the molar mass? 98 grams. Look at this, 2 hydrogens. Sulfur, 32. 4 oxygens. Add all of them. It will be what? 98. In fact, when we talked about the calculation of the molecular mass and molar mass, right? We have seen this sulfuric acid also. This is a very common compound. Now, what is the formula for the equivalent weight? Molar mass divided by valency factor Z. What is the valency factor here? 2, right? That's it. 98 by 2 means what? 49. Okay. So for the acids, it's very simple. What is the Z factor? Z is basically what? The basicity of the acid. Basicity means, how do you look at it? The number of H plus ions the acid can exchange. So here also, when we go to the ionic equilibrium chapter, right, we will see what are the different types of acids that are there. It's not like every acid can give us H plus ions. We will see, you know. Let's come to the bases. For the bases, right, it will be almost similar to the acids. For the bases, the Z factor will be equal to the acidity. What is acidity? The number of ionizable OH minus ions present in one molecule of the base. That is what is called as basicity. Look at this. NaOH means it will give us what? 1 OH minus. Magnesium hydroxide, we have seen this. It will give us what? 2 OH minus. Aluminum hydroxide. That's it. So we will be able to find what is the Z factor. Z factor is what? Acidity. Look at this. What is the equivalent weight of magnesium hydroxide? What is the magnesium hydroxide formula? MgOH twice. Clearly, what is Z value? Z is equal to 2, right? So, for the magnesium hydroxide, what is the molecular weight? 58. Because look at this. Magnesium is 24 plus OH. 1 oxygen, 1 hydrogen. Means what? 16 plus 1, 17. 2 times it is coming. 270 is what? 34. 24 plus 34 is what? It is 58 grams. That is the molar mass. What is the equivalent weight formula? Molar mass by the valency factor. Let's go to the salts. So we are going one by one category. For a salt, right, the Z factor will be equal to, because if you break down the salt, one side you will have the positive charge, that is the cation part. Other side you will have the negative charge, that is the anion part. We will not double count it, because when cations are going for the charge exchange, automatically anions also will go to the other side. So we will not double count it. We have to count it only once. Z factor will be the total charge of the cations or the total charge of the anions. Let's see, we say NaCl. Break it. What is the cation? Sodium, only one cation. What is the total charge on that? So in this case, that will be equal to 1. You can see this by looking at the anion also. Only one anion, right? What is the charge on this? 1. So either way you calculate, you will get the same answer, because you take a salt, right? Total charge of the cations will be positive. Total charge of the anions will be what? Same amount, positive, negative it will be. Okay. So either one of them you have to take. You should not double count it. Okay. Similarly, if you look at say for example a MgCl2, only one cation. What is it? Magnesium. If you look at the cation charge, means what we will get? 2. Look at the anion side. What do you have? We will have 2 Cl minus. So here we are saying what? Total charge of the cations, which will be also equal to total charge of the anions. Look at this. We have 2 anions, each 1 unit charge. Means total charge means what it will be? Whatever is the total charge of the positive value in a salt you take, right? That will be obviously equal to what? Total charge of the negative part. Okay, so this is how we will calculate the Z factor for the salts. Now, when we look at the salts, right, some of these salts will be, this is an additional point. I mean, whatever we are saying now is also additional, but this is even little bit more. So if you have some salts which we call as hydrated salts, like you can have blue vitriol. What is blue vitriol? Copper sulfate, CaSO4.5H2O. Okay. So these, we call these water molecules which are there in the crystal. They'll be inside the solid crystal, the water molecules. We call such salts as what? Hydrated salts. The water molecules inside the crystal, right? They'll bring some properties. Even if you look at the washing soda, right? It will be what? It will be a decahydrate, Na2CO3.10H2O. So if you are having the hydrated salt, this is an important point. When you are calculating the molar mass, a lot of students will have a doubt. Should we take the water molecules also, or should we leave them? That is the doubt. When you calculate the molar mass, remember, for the hydrated salt, we have to include the water molecules. We can't just leave them for the molar mass calculation. That is the reason why we are keeping them, right? For the molar mass calculation, we have to include the water molecules of hydration, whether it is blue vitriol or washing soda, any of these hydrated salt, right? We have to include the water molecules also when you calculate the molar mass. Okay, so this is a point, we can keep a note of it. Now let us go to the next one, which is the atoms or their corresponding ions. Look at this, the valency, what you call as, or the charge of the ion, right? That will be the Z factor. Na plus means what? What is the valency here? 1. Mg2 plus means what is the valency? Al3 plus means, just make a note of it. This idea, right, we will be using in electrochemistry chapter in +2. What is it? The valency or the charge of the ions which are in the atomic form, like Na plus, Mg2 plus, Al3 plus. So in electrochemistry, right, we will be studying something called as electrolysis. There we'll talk about all these things. But yeah, so here the point is what? Z factor is simply what? The valency. Whatever is the valency. Na plus means valency is 1. Mg2 plus means valency 2. Al3 plus means what? Valency 3. So here, if I want to calculate what is the equivalent weight of sodium in this case, what is it? You have to, for sodium, right, you will not say molar mass, you have to say what? Gram atomic mass, that is 23 grams by 1. Why 1? Because Z is 1. For the magnesium, if you want to say what is the equivalent weight, it will be what? The gram atomic weight of magnesium 24 divided by 2 will come. So see, what is it? 12 grams. If you want to talk about the equivalent weight of aluminum, so the equivalent weight of aluminum, right, what is it? The gram atomic mass of aluminum, that is 27 grams. See, I already told you in the previous videos, right, the more command you have or the more comfort you have in memorizing these common elements and their atomic numbers as well as atomic masses, that much confident you look when it comes to solving problems in physical chemistry. So look at this equivalent of aluminum, right? The gram atomic weight of aluminum 27 by the valency factor. So it will be what? 9 grams. So this is how we are going to calculate the equivalent weight in case of the atoms or their corresponding ions. Now we will come to the miscellaneous category. We talked about the acids, we talked about the bases, we talked about the salts. Then we talked about the fourth category is what? The atoms or their corresponding ions. Now we come to the miscellaneous category. What is this? Some substances, particularly the compounds of the D block. The Z factor will change based on the reaction. What is this Z factor? Basically, if you take 1 mole of that substance, how many moles of electrons it can exchange? So this will be changing from reaction to reaction. And this we will be able to know only when you look at the reaction. Like say for example, if you talk about the Cr2O7 2 minus, this is actually what? Dichromate ion. So what do we call it as? Dichromate ion. I mean, so the compound from which we are getting can be, this is a very famous compound. What is it? Potassium dichromate. This is called as permanganate ion, MnO4 minus. This will come from the substance potassium permanganate, KMnO4. You see here in the acid medium, right, the dichromate ion is exchanging how many electrons? You see here 6 electrons. So for this reaction, based on the reaction, what you will say, Z is equal to what? 6. 1 mole of, look at this, the Z factor is what? The number of electrons exchanged by 1 molecule of the substance in this reaction. 1 dichromate is exchanging how many electrons? 6. So that is equal to 6. Here you look at this in the acid medium. Why am I saying acid medium? Because H plus is there. That is why acid medium. Permanganate ion, right, is able to exchange how many electrons? 5 electrons. 1 molecule, 5 electrons. That's why Z is equal to 5. Now we will see in redox reaction chapter. I mean, we should not cover everything in one go so that we will load ourselves. In redox reaction chapter, right, we will see how the permanganate ion will behave differently when it is reacting in basic medium and when it is reacting in a neutral medium. So it will not always be exchanging 5 electrons. 1 molecule of potassium permanganate you take. Acid medium means it will exchange 5 electrons. When you go to the basic medium or neutral medium, it will change. But remember this, only when you know how many electrons is exchanging, that we will know based on the reaction. So somebody has to give us the reaction. So if you know this reaction equation, right, then only we will know what is the number of electrons exchanged by 1 molecule of that particular substance. And this will come from, as I said, right, it will come from where? Redox reaction, we will know How do we obtain these electrons? That will be based on the balancing methods. But here the point that we need to understand is there are some substances, in a way what we will say is, who can have a Z value variable. Okay, so usually what are these? The compounds of the D block elements, like particular examples are what? Dichromate, permanganate, and all these things. Okay, so we'll study more about them when we go to the redox reaction. Let's look at this one. How many grams of a dibasic acid? The moment we see the word dibasic acid means what? Z is equal to, molecular weight is what? 200. Should be present in 100 ml. Understand the question. How many grams of the dibasic acid should be present in 100 ml to give a strength of 0.1 normal? You know what this is? Normality. What is this? This is what the solution is. The final solution is what? Concentration value is 0.1 normal. Like the way, what is this capital M molarity? What is molarity? Moles per liter. Normality will be what? Equivalents per liter. Just like molarity, we have what? Normality unit. Now let's just look at it. No, we have to find what is the mass of the dibasic acid in grams. First, what is the molecular weight of the dibasic acid? 200 gram. So we will try to find first what is the equivalent weight. What is the equivalent weight? Molecular weight divided by the Z factor, because we are dealing with acid, right? Acid Z factor is what? Basicity. Dibasic means what? 2. So what is this? It is 100 gram. That is the equivalent weight of the acid. Okay, done. Now, if I say that I am taking some W is the mass of the dibasic acid I am taking. This is in grams. The number of equivalents. What is the number of equivalents formula? Given mass by equivalent mass, like the way we calculate number of moles. So what is the number of equivalents formula? Given mass, the mass I am taking is what? W. The W is what you have to find finally. So given mass by equivalent mass or equivalent weight, that is what? The number of equivalents. What is the volume of solution? 100 ml. Means volume of solution 100 ml means what? In terms of liter means we have to divide by 1000, right? What is it? 0.1 liter. What is the normality formula? Already we have seen this. What is the normality formula? Number of equivalents. What is the number of equivalents? W by 100 divided by volume of the solution in liter. What is the volume of solution in liter? It is what? 0.1. Now you look at it. The normality is given to us for the solution, right? The normality is given to us. What is the normality? Look at the normality, 0.1 normal, right? The normality of the solution is already given to us. So normality value is what? 0.1 is equal to W by 100 divided by 0.1. So what is it? The 100 will come to the denominator. So 0.1 is equal to W by 10. You take the 10 to that side. 0.1 into 10 means what? That is 1. This is in terms of grams, right? So what is the answer for this? Okay. So this is how we can have questions on the normality. Now for a solution, right, we can define molarity as a concentration term and also normality as a concentration term. They are related. How they are related? Normality will be equal to Z factor into molarity. For any solution, right, what is the normality value? It will be equal to Z factor into molarity. We can see, first we will see how this formula can be used. Suppose somebody is giving me that, okay, there is a H2SO4 solution. So these are the kind of questions that can be asked. There is a H2SO4 solution which is 0.6 molar. What is the normality of the solution? Like that there can be a question. So here H2SO4 means what? It is a dibasic acid. Straight away, what is Z value? Z is equal to. So look at the formula. Normality is equal to what? What is the formula? Normality is equal to Z factor, which is 2 into molarity. What is the molarity? So what is it? 2 into 0.6 means what? 1.2. So the concentration in terms of normality will be equal to what? 1.2 normality unit. What is the concentration in terms of normality? It will be what? 1.2 normality unit. That is how we will be able to see the questions being asked. Okay. But the thing is, we will see how this formula itself is coming. We should know, right? It's not like somebody is generally giving us a formula and then we have to by heart it. Yes, after we understand the things, still, because see, I mean somebody might say that okay, we have to analyze everything and then that's the end of it. No, if you understand the things in chemistry, after that also you might have to memorize some things, like say we understand a chemical reaction, how it is happening, the mechanism, everything, but still we have to memorize it, right? But the thing is, if you understand how it is happening, we will be more comfortable in terms of memorizing it. So that memorization part, right, will always have an advantage. I mean, whoever is able to put some effort in memorizing things, definitely when it comes to chemistry, not sure about the other math or physics, but definitely when it comes to chemistry and of course bio also, you will have the advantage over the others. So look at it, how this will come. What is this? Normality is equal to what? Z into molarity. So first we will see how left hand side, we will just try take one of them and then we will prove. What is normality? Normality is what? Number of equivalents divided by the volume of solution in liter. That is the, I am just going with the LHS. What I am going to do is like the way you do math, right? I will take the LHS, show you how the RHS will come. Number of equivalents means what? Given mass by equivalent mass or equivalent weight. Denominator will be as it is. Volume of solution in liter. Okay. Now here I am going to make that modification. Look at it. Equivalent weight, right, is equal to what? Molar mass by Z. This Z is the valency factor. So given mass by molar mass divided by Z. So Z will go to the numerator. Keep this in mind. Okay. What is given mass by molar mass? That is the number of moles. So look at this. I will write it here. What is it that we have now? Z into number of moles of solute by volume of solution in liter. What is this? That is the molarity, right? So look at this, what we have. RHS has come, right? What is RHS? Z into molarity. So that is how we can see that the relation normality and molarity. Now the other thing is, when you have the concentration terms, right? Concentration terms can be used to find the amount of the solute. When you say number of moles or number of equivalents, what is it talking about? It is talking about the amount of the solute. Just look at the formula. We'll see one formula. What is molarity? Molarity is equal to what? Number of moles of solute by the volume of solution in liter, isn't it? So you just take this to the other side. Molarity multiplied by volume of solution in liter, right? That will be giving us what? Number of moles of solute. Means molarity means generally we will put with symbol capital M. Volume of solution in liter means what? We will put V. This will be equal to what? The number of moles of the solute. Okay. So suppose, I mean, just to give one sample, if somebody is saying that there is a 200 ml of 0.3 molar solution. What is it? There is a 200 ml, that is the volume of 0.3 molar solution. They are asking what is the number of moles of the solute. Okay, so how do you get the number of moles? What is the formula? Molarity multiplied by volume of the solution in liter. That is it, right? We will get what? The number of moles of solute. So they are asking us number of moles of solute, right? It will be equal to what? Molarity, that is their 0.3 molar, into the volume must be in liter. Here it is given as 200 ml, means what? How do you convert this into liter? By 1000. That's it. What is it? 0.3 into 0.2 means what? 0.06. Like this we can get. Similarly, we can have the number of equivalents also. I'm sure we can understand that easily. What is it? It is going to come from where? It is going to come from the normality formula. It will be coming from the normality formula. What is the normality formula? What is it? It is basically for a solution, right? Normality. What is normality? Number of equivalents of solute divided by volume of solution in liter. It is very much similar to the molarity, right? You just take this one to the other side. Then what is it? Normality into volume of the solution in liter. That will be giving us what? Number of equivalents of the solute. So normality means we will put a symbol capital N. What is it? Volume will be V. That is what? Number of equivalents of the solute. So this is how we will be able to calculate number of equivalents. Okay. Previously we have seen what is the number of moles. Now we will see one application of this. In fact, this concept is already discussed in the NCERT. That's why, I have not used the word additional. What is this? Generally, when you look at any solution, right, that you prepare in the laboratory, we will prepare the solutions with high concentration. That is what we will be calling them as stock solution. Generally, when you prepare a solution in lab, we will prepare them to be what? With high concentration. Means solute will be more. We call them as what? Stock solution. But if we require to use it in some specific experiment or something, right, we will add solvent. In this case, we are assuming the solvent is water. We will add solvent. That is what we will call as what? Dilution. When you add solvent, what is happening? Dilution. So when you are diluting it, right, the thing that we need to keep in mind is the solute amount will remain the same. Nothing is happening to the solute. The solute amount will remain the same, isn't it? So means what? Initially, let us say the solution is having a molarity M1, normality N1, volume V1. Of course, we know that the molarity and normality will be related by using the Z factor. Finally, the volume is V2. The molarity is M2 and the normality at this stage is what? N2. So initially, if you want to calculate what is the number of moles of the solute, what will we say? Number of moles of solute means what? Initial number of moles is what? M1 into V1. Because number of moles of solute must remain the same, right? Finally, what is it? This is the formula that we will use in the case of the dilution. A similar formula we can use in the case of the normality also. Solute will remain the same means what? Either you can say number of moles of solute initially is equal to number of moles of solute finally, or number of equivalents of solute initially means what? N1 V1 will be equal to what? Number of equivalents of solute finally. Both we can use. So this is what will be the formula that we can use in case of the dilution. So here we will discuss about both the conditions, dilution and heating. We will see one sample question. No, 800 ml of a solution has a concentration, this is what, 3 molar. So this is like our M1, this is like our V1. How much water? See, sometimes we have to be careful about the wordings. Look at what they are asking. How much water needs to be added? What is the extra water to be added to dilute the solution to 1.8 molar? Means this is our M2. Dilution means what? The initial molarity into volume will be equal to final molarity into final volume. This is it. Because when you multiply molarity with volume, we will get what? Number of moles of the solute. So look at what do we have. Initial molarity is what? 3 into, what is the volume here? 800 ml means 0.8 in terms of liter. 800 by 1000, right? What is it? 0.8 liter. So remember, molarity multiplied by volume in liter we have to multiply. Then we will get what? Number of moles is equal to final, what is the molarity? 0.8 into V2. Remember, this V2 also will be in liters. So we will see how the 1.8 will come the other side. 3 into 0.8 by 1.8. So we can, this is our V2 value in terms of liters. Look at this, we will multiply both numerator and denominator by 10. So 3 into 8 by 18. 3 ones are 3 sixes. What is it? 4 by 3. 4 by 3 means what we can say? The final volume is what? 1.33 liters. Final volume is 1.33. But look at the question. They are asking us what? How much water needs to be added to dilute the solution? Means they are not asking us the V2 value. What they are asking us? The water that is added means what? They are asking us what is this V2 minus V1. So what is V2 minus V1? 1.33 liter minus 0.8 liter. That is what? 0.53 liter. That is what is the volume of the water that is added to it. Okay. So this is how we can have questions on the dilution part. Now we look at the heating. Heating also, the thing that we will consider here is the solute is non-volatile. Like you have salt in water. I mean, that is the basis of the salt produced in salt fields, right? I'm sure when you are traveling in train from Chennai to Andhra side, you will see that, I mean, on the coastal area, right, you will have a lot of these salt fields. I mean, you will find it in some other parts of Tamil Nadu also, but when you have the water coming into the salt field, you will put a storage setup, and then you will just allow the water to evaporate. Salt will not evaporate, it will be just staying behind. That's how you will get the salt. So if you are heating, what happens? Solvent will evaporate, but solute particles will be as it is. Here also same thing, means what? The solute amount will remain the same. Solute amount will not change. Means what? Same concept, right? If the solute amount is not changing, means what is it? The initially we have, let us say, volume is V1, molarity M1, normality M1. Finally the volume is V2. So in case of dilution, V2 will be higher. In case of this heating rate, V2 will be lesser. The molarity here is M2 and normality N2. So what is it? Initial number of moles of solute M1 V1 will be equal to what? Final number of moles. Initial number of equivalents of will be equal to what? Final number of equivalents. Either of them we can use it. Formula will be same because the amount of solute will not be changing. That's it. Okay, so this is about the dilution and heating. Now the other concentration. So we talked about the normality for quite some time because that's a very important concentration term. And we can see the importance also when you look at the past year questions. If you look at some, we're talking about the arsenic compounds content in drinking water. Generally these are what? Contaminants. We talk about very minute amount. Here you cannot express them in fraction or percentage because they will be in very small amount. So that is the reason why we use a ppm. ppm means parts per million. So what is percentage? Means parts per 100. Percentage means what? Parts per 100. If I say 3% means what? If I say a component is 3% by mass, means what? You take 100 grams of the sample of the substance, right? In that 3 grams will be the component. That is what is the meaning of 3%, right? Percentage means what? Out of 100 parts, how much is there? But here these contaminants generally, right, they will be in very small proportion. So we will be using what? Parts per million. Instead of percentage, we will use what? Parts per million. So suppose I say that the arsenic compounds content in water is 50 ppm by mass. Now ppm, right, can be given in terms of mass. It can be also given in terms of volume. Okay. So if it is 50 ppm by mass means what? You take million means what? 10 power 6. You take 10 power 6 grams of the water. In that we will have what? 50 grams of the arsenic compounds. Like that. This can be in terms of mass. ppm can be also in terms of volume. Okay. Say for example, we talk about another example. I mean, we'll see the example for the ppm by volume. Methanol, right? If it is present in the drinking alcohol, it can be very dangerous. I'm sure in 10th standard we have studied about it. So if I say that the methanol content in alcoholic beverages, means the drinking alcohol, right, is 150 ppm by volume. It means what? If you take 10 power 6 parts, it can be ml or it can be anything. If you take 10 power 6 ml of the beverage, right, in that 150 ml will be what? This methanol. So always, the ppm concept is used when the substance is present in minute amount. And you will see that, in some cases, right, like very rarest of the rare, we will be also using this ppb. What is it? Parts per billion. Means what? That will be used in cases where we have the substance present in even more minute fraction. That's what it is called as what? ppb, parts per billion. But yeah, so this is about the ppm. Now we'll go to the other one. It's called as mass by volume percentage or weight by volume percentage. It is actually referred as the cross concentration term. We have seen what is mass percentage, we have seen what is volume percentage, but now we are talking about what? Mass by volume percentage. So if you say that the sugar solution, I'm just giving the example itself, we can understand with this. If they say that sugar solution is 4% weight by volume, like that only they will give us. Normally, if you say percentage by volume means what? You will take 100 ml of the solution, 100 parts. In a 100 ml of solution, numerator is what? Weight. We will have 4 grams of the solute. Denominator is what? Volume, right? So we will take what? 100 ml. Numerator is what? Weight. So we will take what? The 4 will be in terms of grams. So if somebody says sugar solution is 4% weight by volume means what? You take 100 ml of the solution. What is the amount of sugar in that? 4 grams. We will see one more example. Okay. So if somebody says that the salt water is 3%, you can say either weight by volume or mass by volume. Means what? You take 100 ml of the solution. That's why the percentage. In that we'll have what? 3 grams of salt, weight of the salt. That's it. That is how we are going to look at the weight by volume percentage or mass by volume percentage. As I said, in chemistry we will keep using the weight and mass interchangeably, so we don't see such an issue. Already in the part 4, right, we talked about it, because we have discussed about some concentration terms in part 4. We talked about the dependency on the temperature, like whichever concentration terms they have the volume, they will be depending upon temperature, because what? Volume can be changed with temperature. So all those things, they will depend upon temperature. Now those concentration terms that don't have volume, right, they will be what? Independent of temperature. So we can just take a look at what are the ones that are independent. Mass percentage, mole fraction. You can see in these volume will not come. ppm by mass, volume will not come. Molality, molality is what? Number of moles of solute by mass of solvent in kg. Molality also, the volume will not come, which means what? That will be also what? Independent of temperature. The others will be depending upon the temperature. So we can write that list also. So what are the ones that will depend on temperature? We talk about molarity, volume percentage, ppm by volume, normality. So all these things, they will be including the weight by volume percentage also, because that also has got volume. So all of them, they will be depending upon the temperature. Okay, so this is about the concentration terms that will be independent of temperature and the ones that will be depending upon the temperature. Now in this discussion, right, you will be able to observe one thing, that we are not referring to density. Density we are not referring to as the concentration term. Why? Because density means what? Total mass of the mixture or solution by total volume. So here density will not talk about what is the relative amounts. Okay, but density is also a measurement, but we are not calling it as concentration term. Why? Because it does not talk about what is the relative amounts present in it, right? It only says what is the total mass of the mixture or solution by what is the total volume. Okay, now we talked about the concentration terms, but as we said, right, this conversions is an aspect that we'll again study in more detail when we go to the solution chapter in +2. But here in the basic concept of chemistry itself, we have one problem in the in-text. To be able to solve that problem, we should understand that, okay, there is an idea of conversions. What is the idea of conversions? Like, you know, if one or more concentration terms are given to us, right, we can use this information to find any unknown concentration term. We can use the information to find any unknown concentration term. So generally, right, I mean, it is not like there is a rule or anything like that. Generally, we will see these conversion problems into two types. The first is like, you know, one-to-one conversion. Means we will be given one concentration term, using that we can find the other. One-to-one type. The second type of problem is we will be given two, using that we will find the third. These are the two models of questions. One thing is what? One-to-one. I will show some examples also. Second will be, you will be given two concentration terms, you will use them to find the third. We will see, you know, some sample questions. Suppose the mass percentage of methane in a mixture of methane and oxygen gases is 40 percentage. Find mole fraction of methane. This is the question. The mass percentage of methane in the mixture of methane and oxygen is what? 40 percentage. The mass percentage is given. We have to find what is the mole fraction of methane. So as I have said, right, this is like what? 1 to 1. Mass percentage is given. We have to calculate the mole fraction. So whenever we have any concentration term given, right, we should take a sample. This is how the conversions will always begin. Now when we go to the solution chapter in 12th, right, we will see that for these conversions, right, we will even derive some formulas and we will keep some ready-made formulas also we will derive and keep. But here I will show you what is the base approach. We have to take a sample. What is given to us? Mass percentage. Means if you take, because mass percentage means out of 100, right, you take 100 grams of sample. In that, what is the mass percentage of methane here? 40. Means in that 40 grams will be methane and remaining amount is what? 60 grams. That will be what? Oxygen. So first thing is what? We have to start with a sample. And if it is mass percentage that is given, what is the sample? We will take 100 grams. You see here, in this sample that we have taken, what is the mass of methane? 40 grams. What is the mass of oxygen? 60 grams. We can find what is the number of moles of methane. What is it? 40 by what is the methane molar mass? 16. This is like what? 5 by 2. We can find what is the number of moles of oxygen. How do you get it? Mass divided by molar mass. What is the oxygen molar mass? 32. So we can see here, what is this? So we have number of moles of methane and number of moles of oxygen. What are we trying to find? What is the mole fraction of methane, right? Mole fraction of methane means what? Chi. That's the symbol we will use. Methane is what? Number of moles of methane by total number of moles of mixture means what? 5 by 2 plus 15 by 8. I mean, we can simplify this. We can take an LCM of the denominator and simplify this. Okay. But just to give the idea of how do we do the conversions. I'm not going to complete the problem. I'll just leave it here. But you can, for the sake of clarity, you can finally try and get the answer. So how do we get it? Maybe I'll still finish. What is it? So 5 by 2 divided by, take the LCM of the denominator. What is it? 2 and 8 is what? 8 itself, right? So what is it that we'll have? 5 into 4 plus 15 by 8. Okay, the 4 will go to the numerator. So 20 by, this is what? 20, 35. So what is it? 4 by 7. What is the mole fraction of methane here? It is what? 4 by 7. Now we know if the mole fraction of methane is 4 by 7, what will be the mole fraction of oxygen? If somebody is asking us, it will be what? 3 by 7. Why? Because only two components are there. When you add up the mole fractions means it will be adding up to 1. Okay. So these are the kind of one-to-one conversions. We will see one more question. If somebody is saying that in a mixture of sodium hydroxide with water. In fact, we can also call it as what? Aqueous solution of sodium hydroxide. We can call it as what? Aqueous solution of what we can call it as? Aqueous solution means solvent is water. The mole fraction of sodium hydroxide is 0.5. What is the mole fraction of sodium hydroxide? 0.5. What is the molality of the solution? So we have to find what is the molality of the solution. Again, here this is a type of one-to-one conversion. What is it? here we have the mole fraction given. So whenever mole fraction is given, right, always these questions will start with a sample. When mole fraction is given, we will take 1 mole of mixture as the sample. When mass percentage is given, we will take what? 100 grams of mixture as sample. When mole fraction means out of 1, that's why we are taking 1 mole of mixture. In this we will have what? 0.5 moles of sodium hydroxide and of course 0.5 moles of water. Only 2 components, right? If sodium hydroxide is 0.5 means water will be 0.5. We have to find the molality. What is molality? Number of moles of solute divided by mass of the solvent in kg. Okay, so look at this, the beauty. Already the number of moles of solute is in our hand. We have to find what is the mass of solvent. What is solvent here? Water. Look at this, 0.5 moles of water. What is it? In terms of mass, what is it? 0.5 into the molar mass of water is what? 18. What is it? 9 grams. This is the mass of water that is there. 1 mole of water means what? 18 grams. 0.5 moles means 0.5 into 18, that is what? 9 grams. This, if you have to express in terms of kgs, right, what is it? 9 by 1000. This is the mass in terms of kilograms. Now we will go to the I'll erase this one because we don't need, we already got the idea of the question, right? So what is it that we need to find? We have to find what is the molality. What is the molality formula? Number of moles of solute divided by mass of the solvent in kgs. So the molality is what? Number of moles of solute, 0.5, divided by mass of solvent in kg. What is it? 9 by 1000. The 1000 will go to the numerator. 0.5 into 1000 by 9, that is what? Small m. If you want, we can express this in terms of the decimal places also. Okay, so molality unit is what? Small m, right? So this is how we can have these one-to-one type of conversions. Now what we have in our textbook as a solved example, right, is the second model. What is second model? 2 of the terms will be given. We have to use the information to find the third. Look at this. A density of a 3 molar solution of NaCl. What is given to us? The molarity is given to us. 3 molar solution of the NaCl is 1.25 gram per ml. Means what? The density is also given. Calculate molality of the solution. What do you have to calculate? Molality. Now, what is molality? Number of moles of solute by mass of solvent in kg. That is the molality, right? So here, what is common? We have to obviously, here also same thing, we have to start with a sample, right? What is the common? I'll erase this thing so that we can clearly see what is given. What is the common thing between the molarity and density? It is the volume part. What is it? Is the volume part. So if you take 1 liter solution, if you take 1 liter solution, right, what is the molarity you are saying? 3. So in 1 liter we will be having 3 moles of the solute. Means what? 3 moles of NaCl is there. NaCl, what is the mass? The formula mass is what? 58.5. So 3 moles means 3 into 58.5, what is it? 175.5. This is the mass of NaCl in 1 liter solution. From the density formula, what is the density? 1.25 gram per ml. If you take 1 liter solution, the total mass will be what? The volume multiplied by density. Volume is what? 1 liter means 1000 ml. 1000 into 1.25. That will be what? 1250 grams. Okay. So we know in 1 liter, what is the mass of the solute? What is the mass of solute? 175.5 grams. This is the solute. What is the total mass of solution? That is what? 1250 grams. So we can calculate what is the mass of the water, which is a solvent. What is the mass of water? Means total solution mass minus the solute. So 1250 minus 175.5. There is a typo there. If you do that, means what we will get? 1074.5 grams. This is what? This is the mass of the solvent. Of course, we can see this is in terms of grams. What is the molality formula? I mean, this is the numerical part. You can just check it by yourself also while you are practicing, because see, it's not like, you know, we are solved examples also. It is not like we are just reading through. You guys need to work them out. Molality is what? Number of moles of solute by mass of solvent in kg. Already we have taken 1 liter of solution as the sample, right? In that, what is the number of moles of the solute? 3 moles. Mass of solvent should be in kilograms. Look at this. 1074.5 grams means in terms of kilograms, what is it? Divide by 1000. What is it? 1.0745 in terms of kilograms. So 3 divided by 1.0745. Approximately what is it? 2.79 molality unit. Always molality unit, what is the symbol? Small m. Okay, so this is one 2 to 1 type of conversion. So we are given what? Molarity is given and density is given. So since molarity and density both are involved with volume, we have taken 1 liter of the solution as the sample, and then we proceeded. Okay, so this way, when you are approaching the conversion problems, right, is what we call as the systematic way. Like you take a sample and then try to use the information to find what is the unknown concentration term they are asking. But when we go to the +2 solution chapter, right, as I said, we will see for different types of conversions, right, we can have a ready-made formula. We can derive the formula and keep it with us, so that if there is a question, right, we don't have to again do all these basic calculations. We can just use the formula and then fatakse we will be able to get the answer. Okay, so we will see. Okay, the next part is about some very key results. Molarity of water. If you take water to have density of 1000 kg per meter cube, right? If that is the density of water, then you take 1000 kg per meter cube, means we can say what? 1 gram per centimeter cube. So if you take 1 liter of water, 1 liter of water means what? 1000 centimeter cube. Density is what? 1 gram per cc means 1 gram per centimeter cube, or 1 gram per cc means what? Every 1 centimeter cube will have 1 gram. 1000 centimeter cube will have how much? 1000 grams of water will be there. So we can find what is the number of moles. How do you find number of moles? Number of moles will be equal to what? In that 1 liter of water that you taken, there is 1000 grams of water. Number of moles is what? Given mass by molar mass. So what is this? This is 500 by 9. This is the number of moles. The molarity. What is molarity? Number of moles of solute divided by the volume of solution in liter, which is what? Of course 1. So what is it? 500 by 9 molar unit, or we'll say what? Capital M. So this is what is the molarity of water. If you want to, like, convert this in decimal place, means what you will do? 9 5s are 45, 55.55 and so on. Okay, so this is what is the molarity of the water. Then another result, even we said we will derive it in one of the previous part videos. We have got this. The value of 1 AMU is derived to be what, 1.66056 in 10 power minus 24 grams. We'll see how this value can be estimated or calculated based on the information that we have. What we know is the mass of one carbon 12 atom, that is equal to what, 12 AMU. Mass of one carbon 12 atom is what, 12 AMU. Mass of 1 mole of carbon 12 atoms, that is what, the gram atomic mass of carbon, that is 12 grams. But mass of 1 mole of carbon 12 atom means, from here what you can say, Avogadro number into 12 AMU. Mass of one atom is 12 AMU means 1 mole means what, Avogadro number atoms will be there, right? So Avogadro number into 12 AMU, that is equal to what, 12 grams. We can see 12 gets cancelled. We are looking for AMU means 1 AMU will be equal to what, 1 gram by Avogadro number. So this is the result we can look at. What is the AMU value? 1 AMU will be equal to what, 1 gram by Avogadro number, means what, 1 AMU 1 gram by, what is Avogadro number, 6.022 in 10 power 23. If you take this, right, so it will be what, 10 power minus 23 gram by 6.022. If you conclude this calculation, means it will be coming close to what, 1.66 into 10 power minus 24 grams. That is the value of AMU. Okay, so this is how we can estimate the value of AMU. Whatever is given, we'll see that it will be correlating with whatever is the value that we already have. So these are the additional key results. One is the molarity of water, that is 55.55, and second is how do we get the value of the AMU. So with this, right, we have broadly covered whatever the little bit of additional things that we will require, and this should set us in good place to start preparing for JEE Mains Advanced or NEET. So the idea of this NCERT as it is series is, maybe I should have given this intro probably at the beginning of the chapter, is you first go through these videos before you even take a look at your JEE lectures or the NEET lectures, so that you will have all the fundamental things covered, and in your JEE class or NEET classes you can really emphasize more on the problem practice part. Okay, so all the best and keep doing well.